Brunch culture.
We want to talk about faith. We want to talk about politics. We want to talk about race. We want to talk about pop culture. Literally, everything is up for discussion, and that's what brunch culture is about. It's about a thing. Feel real good with your hands in the air and lick 2 shots in the ass.
Brunch culture. Brunch culture. Brunch culture.
She's Lisa V.
And he's Randall Keith.
And this is Brunch Culture, the show where everything is up for discussion.
What's not up for discussion is LeBron being the number 1 player in the NBA. I know he didn't win, but I just want to put that out there.
I just don't.
You got real quiet, and I felt like that quietness.
I was about to really go there, but I ain't gonna press your buttons because we've known in past episodes that you don't play by the king.
I want people to understand, and people will test you, but you got to keep your cool because Steve probably lost it on this thing when a caller called in and started talking about the Cleveland Cavaliers. He went to a very low place.
Yeah, it was. I don't even know if low. It's just unacceptable. I'll say that. I won't even say it's a low place. That was just a real unacceptable place. Like, and I didn't even get, of course, like I didn't get the joke in it all. And I thought the first part. Did you hear the audio of it?
I haven't heard the complete audio.
So I heard the audio as a person that was like recording in their car. I feel like the first part that he said something to the tune of like, "You'll be bathing in your silver water" or something like that. And that was kind of like, all right, if you just leave it at that, then we good. Like, don't try to make it something else. And then he went on to say he didn't realize that the caller was the guy was still on the line. He was like, I got one more thing. The guy said something. They're like, oh, he's still on the line. And he was like something to the tune of, enjoy your brown glass of water. And it was kind of like, bruh, like, what is... They've already pointed out, your co-hosts have already pointed out the fact that you saying this can be offensive, and they apologize. The Strawberry Letter Lady, she apologized on behalf of the morning show and him saying, that's going to be a problem. Like, don't say anything. People aren't going to get it. Like, you trying to be funny, but that's a little too far. Like, you over the edge. And then to kind of just throw one more line in there was like with your brown water, knowing that this brown water is something that impacts a lot of us, a lot of our people, and it's not something that they can help. This is not something that people are really being held, nobody's really being held responsible for, and there's still a problem. Like, it's not being fixed. This is somebody's reality. So to kind of like make fun of it as if it's something that he or anybody else could help, it's kind of like, all right, bro, like what you doing?
Yeah, I was just like, what? I don't understand why he thought that was okay. And in light of the fact that he's been in the news for being inappropriate for the last, because he made that comment about, was it Asians that he made the comment about a few weeks ago?
Yeah, I think it was like an Asian joke or something like that.
Yeah, and then so the girl who had been on Little Big Shots. Do you watch Little Big Shots?
No. Okay,
it's kind of funny sometimes, him like talking to the little kids.
Oh, that's kind of like the kids say the darndest things type thing, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, mm-hmm. All right, I'm familiar.
So he had a girl there from Flint, and she like was really offended, a little girl, and she did a video in response to it, like condemning what he said, and was just like, why would you even say that? Like she went viral for her support of Flint because she's from there. And so she was on Little Big Shots, like, and so she was like, Mr. Harvey, I liked you, respected you, and now I'm like, why would you even do that?
Right. He hasn't issued a statement though. He hasn't said anything about it, has he?
I don't think so.
Yeah, and that's the frustrating part, because a reason that I actually didn't even want to get worked up into it, and I think I told you this, is knowing that in his position, knowing who his target audience is and where he's getting the money from. Honestly, if it's not going to be white women that are going to push back or have an issue with the statement, I highly doubt he's going to say anything about it in terms of an apology or even trying to acknowledging that, you know what, that was inappropriate. I probably went a little too far. It shouldn't have happened. I don't even think he's going to do any of that. Like,
yeah, I wish he would stop talking sometimes. Like, it's like sometimes entertainers just need to stick to what they're good at and not do anything else. Like, you know, not make any jokes outside of those parameters.
But I was going to say, I think the thing is he uses that umbrella of I'm a comic so I can do it, and it's just one of those.
That's the same thing we talked about last week with Kathy Griffin and Bill Maher.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where, and this, I think, for me, this is worse because there are people that live in this space and that live in this state, and they can't change it. You know what I'm saying? Like this state that they're in, this position that they're in, they cannot change that. It's not their fault, and it's their government that has let them down. But those same government officials, that same government, no one's really trying to hold anybody accountable, and there is no real true push to change it because, you know, it's so expensive to get it done. But it's like, why this? We should be outraged as people, and honestly, as a black person, and understanding that it's the black and brown people that are really getting the butt of this because they can't just up and go somewhere else. They can't uproot themselves. They don't have the funds to do it. So it's like they have to deal with it. And for you to just try to make a joke about it, it's not appropriate. You know,
and considering he talks about how hard his upbringing was,
right.
Like, you know, I thought he would be naturally just more sympathetic and sensitive to the issue and not even touch it.
And understand how making that joke to one individual is gonna offend everybody. It's gonna offend other people that are in that situation. It's just not a good thing at all. Like, it's really not a good thing at all. And I try not to put too much into it because I honestly feel like literally it'll be talked about amongst black people. And that'll just be it because I don't see this huge group of white people or supporters saying, "Oh, that was so offensive and he shouldn't have said that. We feel offended." Nah, they don't. And not to say that they don't care, but it's just not something that hits home. So I don't necessarily see this being a thing.
Yeah. Well, you know what was a thing for me this week? The Southern Baptist Convention.
Yeah. So I saw your tweets. I saw your Facebook post at first, and then, you know, I went over to your tweets and saw your tweets and saw that it was a thing. Of course, you know, prior to us talking about it, I didn't know what was going on. I didn't understand why. I just kept seeing these articles, and I think I saw maybe a poster, maybe an op-ed or something that somebody did, and it was saying like it's too late to apologize, and I was like, wait, what's happening? What's going on? So I guess break it down for everybody that doesn't really get it.
Yeah, so a pastor, an African American pastor that's a part of the Southern Baptist Convention, went to the Southern Baptist Convention in Phoenix for their annual meeting, and he's a pretty prominent African American pastor within the organization. And he put a proposal out like, we need to condemn as an organization the alt-right, and it was rejected at first. Things were said like, well, the language was too inflammatory, which I don't think it was, but it's amazing that sometimes our white supposedly allies are easily offended when alt-right kind of easily offends us. And so because it hit social media, I think the Washington Post got a hold of it, and it was like Southern Baptists slow to condemn alt-right, so they had like this emergency meeting to rewrite the resolution. And within the resolution, the rewritten resolution, somebody made a point, they spent more time saying what they had done to better their relations with African American people than condemning the alt-right. So they condemned the alt-right, but they wanted to make sure they put within it what they had done in support of the African American community, so they wouldn't look bad.
Was there anything like the inflammatory language that they claimed was there? Did they say specifically like what that language was? Is this something that could be like?
Well, they rewrote the whole thing. So, and they didn't include the man who brought it to them.
Yikes. Like,
he didn't help rewrite the draft, I don't think. I have to go back. I want to give all the facts. But it's just for them so there was this backlash. So when it did finally get pushed through the next day, they were all like, oh, we did it. You know, we love all people here at the Southern Baptist Convention. Well, if you know anything about the formation of the Southern Baptist Convention, you know it has racist roots because they split from the regular Baptist, the whole Baptist, because of the fact that they wanted to continue to be on the side of slavery. They didn't want to condemn slavery, and they wanted to take money from slaveholders to fund missionaries and for slaveholders to be able to still go on missions. So,
wow.
All that to say, I think it's very ironic that the people that were holding slaves went to go overseas to do missions.
Of course.
That's neither here nor there for this point. But you know, I made a couple of statements. I said that, you know, I'm not surprised that an organization that has racist roots bears racist fruit. Some people had issues with that, and I wasn't saying everything in the organization is bad. I know they've made an apology. I think it was 95 that they made a public apology condemning their past and, you know, apologizing and all that. Now, I know they're trying to make strides to help support the African American context, but the whole get up is based on racism, like the whole formation. You know what I'm saying? So for me, it's at the core. So right. You should be shocked that you're still struggling with these issues in 2017 because it's at the root of your organization.
Right. And like with any organization, that rhetoric exists throughout the organization. So it's like it started off this way in the beginning, and things have likely been orally and just kind of traditionally passed down with that type of mentality. And I feel like today, what people don't realize is when we're dealing with racism or we're dealing with like racist actions, or the reason that somebody wouldn't be so moved to even say that, you know what, we can't pass up on this. Let's actually address this right now. You know, we should condemn them, is because it doesn't hit home to you. It's not something that you have to deal with. You don't have to, as a white person, you don't have to think about how a particular organization goes against people of color, right? Or specifically black people, because you don't have to do it. And so it's like, that's why it's problematic, because in your day-to-day interactions, you're not thinking about how this is going to impact somebody that's not white. However, if you heard of a terrorist organization or you heard of something that was anti-American, immediately you'll say, and even if it's a mask, you take that to home. You say, well, I'm American. This impacts me, so I got to protect myself, and I got to do this for my children. I got to do this for my family, and then I have to do this for every other American. But when there's a homegrown organization and group of people that we're saying, hey, this impacts us as black people, you're not thinking, oh, Americans. You're thinking, oh, well, let's make sure we kind of play the fence. Like, we don't really push anybody from that group away, but we don't ostracize you in a sense. And it's just kind of like, yo, no, that's the problem. Like, here's the problem. And that would exist. I will say too, you know, from what you've told me and from what I've read, that would exist honestly in any organization. But that's the reason it doesn't make, you know, the SBC exempt. And so it is problematic because of the SBC. But honestly, we would all likely take that approach or take this opinion or position with any organization that has that type of upbringing. It's the reason that we're always battling with our country, right? We're citizens, we're American citizens, and you know, we love being Americans, traveling internationally. One thing is just like, yo, I can't wait to go back home because this is what I know, this is what I've been grown into. But I also do challenge a lot of the things ways that people think. A lot of the things that is allowed to go on in this country is because, we have to acknowledge the fact that we don't have a clean and clear past. This country hasn't been the best to people that look like us. And so as a result of that, there is going to be some internal strife and some consistent pushback. And we are going to have some opinions that are not like every other person, and particularly every other white person, because our experiences are different. So my thing was, for the resolution, I felt like it was optics. And this is, I've gotten some pushback from me saying this, but my thing is,
this whole thing started because of money. And, I think, we can kind of mask it as Christianity, but at the end of the day, it all boils down to dollars and cents.
Right.
They didn't want to lose their money. That's what slavery was at the core about. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's about money. You don't want to denounce slavery because that would mean your pockets would suffer. You would lose money because you're making a lot of money off free labor. Point blank, period.
Right.
So if you're going to tell me that this organization is for all people, well, let's look at how the money is spent. Let's look at how many minority organizations, if you're really trying to make things better, let's look at how many minority organizations, like within your convention, how many minority-led organizations or churches, how much funding do they receive versus the other organizations?
Right.
Like, that's what I'm interested in. I'm not interested in your resolution or your document.
Or your apology.
I'm interested in your money, because at the end of the day, it was my ancestors whose free labor built your convention. Yep. Like, so until we talk about the money, I don't want to hear no resolution if it's not going to be followed up with reparations. And so that was my whole thing. And I just wanted people that were black people I'm not a part of the convention. I don't think I'll ever be a part. Neither do I have a desire to be a part. But for those who are friends that I know are deeply committed to being voices within that really feel called to see change, I pray for them, and I pray that God bless their efforts. I just wanted them, my sole purpose for tweeting and posting was for them to refocus their efforts on where these money and resources are going. Right. Let's not have a whole bunch of more panels about we all made in the image of God. We got that. Where's this money going?
Exactly.
And until we talk about that, until we see money going where their so-called resolution is, I don't, I said it would be a shame if we have our budgets don't reflect our resolution, and we're still basically promoting white supremacy with our budget, but then saying it's bad with our words. So that was my 2 cents.
And that's fair. I think that's that's absolutely fair. We always talk about, wanting to know where somebody's heart is, what's important to them. You follow their money. You follow where they spend their treasure. Like, wherever you put your treasure in, because that's what you had to work to get that money, right? There's if you look at us on an individual level, I have to go to work. You have to go to work in order to get money. We just don't sit around and get money. So because we've put forth effort and we've gotten that money, wherever we put that, that's what we deem important. And with any organization, if you aren't if you care so much about, equality, if you care so much about race relations, if you care so much about making sure that we all are, because we're all made in the image of God and we're all as one, and God views us as one people, his children, then we should all have equal hands in the pot, right? We should all have equal opportunity to do those things. And if that's not the case and we're not changing it for it, then it calls into question, like, well, what is really going on? And are we being told things to pacify a situation? Are we being told things just to, and I kind of say this all the time, and I think we've talked about this before, but this whole idea when there's some sort of injustice, us always being reminded as black people that, we just have to turn to God, and God is the ultimate, ruler and the ultimate president, the healer. And it's like, all of that is true, and we understand that. But how come is it that here on earth in the United States of America, this group of people, white people, get to have justice in heaven and on earth? They get to be able to live freely in heaven and on earth. Like, they can just kind of run amok, and we're thrown like, oh, prayer, just pray. It's like, no, we actually are, capable of doing both. I'm still going to pray. I'm going to pray that God gives me enough energy and enough knowledge and know-how and skill set to fight for the justice of myself and my people. And in that same regard, it's kind of like, we can know that we're all made in God's image. We can also know that, we are brothers and sisters in Christ. And we can also tell you that it's kind of jacked up that the people that don't look like us don't get any funding or don't get any money, or the true push and the true focus and purpose of the organization is not really to bring us to places where we can be equal and not only have a seat at the table, but honestly be able to create our own tables if we want to, and you come to our tables and you support our tables. Like, that is, it's bull.
And we need to talk about the fact that when African Americans in your organization take your money, they aren't silenced on racial issues.
Right.
Because your money comes with strings.
Right. I was going to say, and that
when
is
you do give it.
That's a real thing. That's I'm going to pay you, but you better shut up. All right. How helpful is that?
Not helpful at all.
Well, in on the note of something that is black and positive, the Black Panther trailer was released. The very first trailer to the movie Black Panther was released, and it's black perfection. It is literally like, I've watched the trailer probably like 50 times, honestly. Like, I watched this trailer over and over and over again. It's beautiful because you see so many black people, but you actually see black people of a darker skin tone that are in these great roles that appear to be lead roles. You see like black women in these kind of superhero-esque outfits. You watch this movie and you kind of just get so excited and so caught up just in the trailer at how many black people are in the movie. And this is a major movie. This is going to theaters, and it's not a romantic comedy, right? We kind of I've expressed this, I know I've expressed this to you, but kind of like my frustration with people thinking that black people can't do things beyond being like romantic comedies, or, you know, even like horror films. We can be that one person in a horror film, but we can't have suspenseful movies. We can't have like, you know, psycho thrillers. We can't have superhero movies where we're not playing the sidekick, where it literally, not only can we be the main character, but we can also play all of the other characters as well. Because just like white people, we're people, right? So it's like, it is really the ability. Yeah, we're people. We're human. Like, we experience similar situations. Our responses, based on culture, will likely be different, but those things can also sell. Like, we can also, I get so frustrated with watching thrillers. I watched this one thriller, maybe it was a couple weeks ago, and it was like a Netflix original or Hulu original. Basically, there's like this girl, she meets this guy, she's like somewhere overseas, and she meets this guy. She likes the guy. They end up having sex. He has to go to work the next day. He basically like locks her up and holds her as a prisoner, right? And I'm watching the movie, and I swear she's making the dumbest decisions, like the dumbest mistakes over and over and over again. And I was like, I'm so frustrated. Like, I don't even want to finish this, because this is not something that I can identify with. This is not something that I feel like people in my community can identify with. The minute that we realize that something is wrong and I'm being locked in here, we're trying to come up with some sort of way to get out of this. We're either trying to fight this guy and attack this guy, or we're going to like try to like outsmart him and get out. Literally, for much of the movie, the girl was just sitting there begging and pleading for him to like let her go. And it's like, it's not going to happen, you stupid. Like, so I'm like, this is why I was telling my friend, I was like, this is why we need to have black people and like black representation in movies, so that somebody can make a movie that to me is more realistic, like a movie that would make sense to people that come from my community. And I will even say like it was a white girl, but I'm like, you know, the white friends that I have, they're not making stupid decisions like that. Like, the minute that I realize that somebody's coming after me, I'm literally not laying down like, please just let me go. Obviously he's not. Like, it's your tears is not going to change him. He's crazy. Like, what are you talking about? But Black Panther trailer is great. If you haven't seen it, like, check it out. We can actually put it out, promote it and put it out on our social media. Like, it really is good. I'm excited about this movie. I'm definitely going to be there to go see it. This is probably going to be another film that I watch in theaters like 6 or 7 times, just because I want to go. Whoever say, oh, I'm going to see Black Panther, all right, I'm gonna go with y'all too, because I wanted to get that support. And the director, and I believe a lot of the writers are black as well, so it's not just that we're supporting the black actors, but we're supporting like creators all across the board, and I think it's great.
I'm definitely going to watch it, and I'm excited for it. So.
Yeah. This is going
Black
to
Panther.
be dope. I actually read this article this morning that was talking about Nubia, who is supposedly the twin sister of Wonder Woman.
Oh wow!
And when it was created, it was created by.
I still haven't seen Wonder Woman.
I saw it. It's good. It's extremely long, and I feel like there's a lot of the middle that should have came out. But the ending of it was really, really great. I feel like the ending really made the movie. But you'll see it. It's action packed. It's a whole superhero thing. But anyway, they talked about Nubia, which is like apparently the black sister, twin sister of Wonder Woman. She's like made from the same clay that Wonder Woman was made from, and she was trained by like the god of war, and she actually used to be like the queen of some place that was like ran by men, and she actually, I guess she went down to hell and ran hell at some point in time. I was like reading the synopsis, and it was actually pretty interesting, and she was introduced, I think it said in 1973 they created the character. So it would be dope to see, with Wonder Woman being so successful, it would be really dope to see if they at some point in time invite her, with Black Panther being a thing, if they bring her up in the story and kind of explore her story in the Wonder Woman series. That would actually be pretty dope too. So let us know what y'all think. Hit us up. Let us know what y'all think about the SBC, what y'all think about Steve Harvey and Black Panther. You guys know where to find us. We're on Twitter at Brunch Culture, on Instagram at Brunch_culture. You can also check out our website at www.brunchculturebc.com, and we will be back for our main dish. We are back, and it's time for our main dish this week. And well, first off, before I get into the main dish, Brunch Culture just celebrated our 3rd year anniversary this past Wednesday. Yes, woo, 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 woo. 3 years of doing Brunch Culture.
I don't think they came out like I wanted it to.
It didn't come out. It wasn't. It was a little like, oh, I think you wanted to be a lot more stronger than it actually came out, but it's all right. It's all good.
No, I'm talking about the boom.
The woo part was a little, I'm sorry, but it's all good. It's a celebration. Let's turn up.
I feel like my turn up needs to be
yours is like
elevated.
It's like a slow rise. That's what it is.
My turn up is everybody else like normal.
Yeah, everybody else is like coming down, and you like, hey, but it's all right though. We gon' 3 years in, you getting there. But no, so it's 3 years of Brunch Culture. We definitely are excited about this. We thank you guys, of course, for listening to us, and seeing us through 3 years. Like, it's really insane to think of where we started, where we came from, and like us still being here 3 years later and doing it.
Our sound quality is better.
Sound quality is amazing, right? I feel like our show structure has gone through some changes, and we found out what's working, and of course, that's something that can always change, but I'm just glad that we're actually producing like a show that don't sound like we're caught up in some whirlpool somewhere trying to record. Like, there's a pristine
with the white noise.
Yeah, there's a pristine sound. It's good. But anyway,
white noise is the only thing that I've heard that has white in it that's bad.
Wait, I'm trying to think now.
Because you know how like black is associated with bad things and white is associated with good things.
Right. But I'm trying to think of, what is it? White water rafting. But I guess that's not bad. Dang. That's a good one. I never thought about that.
Gotta hold on to that one.
Right. I'm like, white noise. That's, I can't think of nothing else.
Yeah, that's all I got.
I'm saying, I'm like, white shoes, white shirts, white diamonds, white. It is all supposed to, it's like pure, and it's great. All right, well, shout out to Lisa for that. But as I was saying, so we're 3 years in, and what's interesting is, our show comes around Father's Day. When it's time to celebrate Father's Day, we are.
Yeah, our first show was on Father.
Yeah, our very, very first episode, we talked about fathers. And it was interesting because as I was thinking about our 3-year anniversary and thinking about it being Father's Day, and I thought like doing a show on fathers is good, and it would definitely be good and something that I want to do. But I was like, let's actually look up some statistics on fathers. And so in doing that, I found a study that the CDC actually released, and thinkprogress.org did an article on it, and it was talking about the myth of the absent black father, right? Mm-hmm. And so there's a bunch of different statistics, a bunch of different studies that they did, and they found that black fathers being absent in today's time is a myth. And in cases where or black fathers being completely absent, right, and just not being interested in being with their children or having children, that being a myth. And in cases where there are children that don't have, fathers in their home, the father is not necessarily married to their mom, but they're living together, or the father is still very present and very active in their kid's life, and some very critical areas to do that. So I just kind of wanted to start off and talk about that, and then just kind of go into start talking about the implications of continuing this narrative and this rhetoric of black fathers being absent, right? Because I think just in our time, we're seeing marriage changing, right? We're seeing that relationships look a lot different now. Whereas in back in the day, when there was a such thing as a shotgun wedding, based on a woman getting pregnant, now there's not really a shotgun wedding, but there's like a shotgun move-in. But people aren't getting married, right? But it still doesn't mean that like fathers are absent. So kind of just wanted to just dive into that, to talk about that, and then just talk about what that does to us as a whole as black people, how that affects us, how that affects our kids, and then also things that we can do to continue to support black fathers. So I'll start off with reading some of these statistics. So they call it the being involved dad, and then they had a few different measures of how to do it, and they compared the different groups as Latino, white, and black. So for children under the age of 5, the question asks if the father feeds or eats a meal with their children daily. 63.9% of Latino fathers did. 73.9% of white fathers did, but 78.2% of black fathers did. Right. So the next one is bathed or dressed their children. Bathed, diapered, or dressed their children. For Latino fathers, it's 45%. For white fathers, it's 60%. For black fathers, it's 70%. So as opposed to going to each one, I'm just going to go to the last two and just read you what the percentage was. So play with their children on a daily basis. For black fathers, is 82.2%. And read to their children daily for black fathers is 34.9%. 8 meals with their children on a daily basis, and this is for children from ages 5 to 18. 61.7% of black fathers did. They took their children to and from school activities. 27.1% of black fathers did, which they lead the pack in that. Talk to their children about their day daily. 67.4% of black fathers does that. They led the pack in that group. And help children with their homework or check that they finished it daily. 40.6% of black fathers did that, and they beat out, again, both the Latino fathers and the white fathers. So what does that mean? What does that mean? And I think me reading that and considering, what we us doing our very first show on fathers, and us kind of talking about kind of the disparity of fathers not being there, and things that people experience as a result of that, emotional things, rejection, how that kind of sets them up to not, in many cases, studies have shown that people that don't come from 2-parent homes, or they don't have like their father present, they end up, they're higher risk for crime, higher risk for being impoverished. And reading this statistic and seeing that, wait, this is not necessarily, it's not the complete, what we've been told and what we have kind of carried and what the narratives that have been put out there about black fathers is not the complete story. And it's so interesting too, because my friends that are fathers and the people that I'm connected to that are fathers, they're very involved in their children's lives. So it's kind of like, I've always wondered, how is that changing? Like, how is that story changing? What is different? And I feel like this kind of shows that not only is it changing, but it also points fingers at, well, if this is happening, right, and we're still seeing statistics of people being depressed or people not getting out of poverty, then that has to mean that there's some other things at play as well. And I wonder how much, as for the longest time, we've had the absent black father and what that does, and we've put so much of a focus on that. But I wonder how much of that should have been directed to other issues, systemic issues, social issues, geographical issues that maybe have led to these things, as opposed to it just being the black father. There was one article that I read too, and the writer actually mentioned that, we've kind of used the absence of the black father or the lack of interest or work of a black father as kind of like it's the scapegoat. It's the reason. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's the scapegoat. It's the reason that all of these bad things happen. It's because these people won't accept their responsibility to do what they have to do. And it's like, well, now that the data is showing that in more cases than in other races, right, with these particular issues, these particular scenarios, you have more black fathers that are doing it than white or Latino fathers. If the disparity still exists, then who is to blame, right? Like, What's happening? What other things should we look at?
Yeah, I think that's a very good point, because I think one of the things that, since we've done the show 3 years ago, something that I've observed is that sometimes there's the assumption that a present father brings out a healthy child, mentally healthy, stable, right. Everything's it. But on the flip end, I've seen some people who've had stable fathers and, so quote unquote, the ideal father that turned out just horrible as a person and are dead and turned out to be deadbeat dads. You know what I'm saying? Right. Themselves. Right. And then I've seen some people who come from homes where the father wasn't present and are magnificent fathers. You know what I'm saying? Right. So I think, considering those things, it can't be this one size fits all problem and solution, because what happens when you have a present father that produces a child that becomes a deadbeat dad? Like, he doesn't replicate what he's experienced. So it's an interesting, I think, thing we see, especially in culture these days. It's up to the person whether they're going to be present and do those things. But also, I think what you were talking about, I think, was eye-opening when I read the article about how we use the black man or the absent black father as the scapegoat, because we think about, when we talk about statistics, the author was saying the two-parent home kind of produces better, they say kids doing better because of economics. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Economics has a big part to play. And I don't want to take away from fathers nurturing and what they bring to the home, because I think it's very vital. But we also have to consider how much finances do play a part in a family unit.
Absolutely.
And when finances aren't there, there's going to be problems.
Absolutely.
Because if you have a whole home, but the parents are struggling, you're not going to have a father there to do those things, because if he's working 2 or 3 jobs, he can't be there to do those. Yeah,
and even in cases, one thing that I think is important to note too, even in cases where you do have physically present dads, and in some cases, and in many cases, from my experience, they can be physically present but emotionally absent, right? They don't have the tool set, and it's not because they're horrible people or they're doing something bad. It's just they don't have the tools and the skill set to be emotionally mature and to kind of nurture you in that way emotionally. So you have a kid that has a father, knows their father, was raised by their father, but is not, that person is, their father is more stranger than the person that they just met, at school, because it's like, I don't know anything about you. I don't know what your favorite color is. I don't know, how you think about things other than things that you want to correct me on, right? Or, you know, the fact that you love golf, or you love fishing, or you love sports. Like, I don't really know things like that. And so it's kind of like, oh, you know, those people can also, that adds to the problem too. And we don't typically talk about those things. We don't really dive into that. And I just think it's important that we, I guess, you know, have a lot more of a nuanced conversation about it. And also in these cases, because we see this statistic, and we see this report that comes out from the CDC that says this, well, now let's start to look at these other groups, right? Let's look at the white fathers. Let's look at the Latino fathers, and let's provide context to them as well. Like, so are we going to say now that things that happen negatively in the white community, is it because of absent fathers, right? Is it because their dads aren't tucking them in at night? Is it because their dad is not sitting down with, you know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like we have to be able to just take these things and really provide more context with them, because we'll do it for other groups, but we don't really do it for us. And now that we start to do it for us, we also have to do the reverse and look at these other groups of people and say, okay, so why are these things are happening, and what's truly coming out of it? If you're still having kids that are growing up in spaces where traditionally, like, you know, white people are more well-rounded or whatever, because they come in these two-parent homes, they're being raised in these two-parent homes. So if they're still doing those things without being in a two-parent home, then what is it? You know, like, what is it that is making up for that? There wasn't the article.
Or can we look at even a deeper question we need to ask? The Leave It to Beaver family model, those produce kids that created systems to oppress other people.
Absolutely.
So, can we talk about the goodness that comes out of the quote-unquote model? I think that's something that we should, you know what I'm saying? Because they're talking about, well, more likely to commit crimes. Mm-hmm. Well, these people are doing bad things,
right, horrible crimes,
but they
right?
it just goes under the radar because they mask it, and it's not quote unquote illegal, but it's wrong.
Right. Right. And we don't, you know, we don't address those things. We don't talk about those things, but that's the reality of it, what it is. One thing that I wanted to, because I really thought about this, and I said on this for a while. So with having this narrative of there being an absent black father, and black fathers not being present for so long, and again, not to say that doesn't happen ever in the black community, no, but knowing that is promoted, and it's almost like the expectation of certain children being raised and feeling like, oh, well, I don't have a father. What does that psychologically do to that kid, right? And is what happens to them really from the absence of their father, or is it because they've kind of been reminded and it's been reiterated to them that their dad, they come from a dad that is a deadbeat. They come from a dad that doesn't care about them. What other things are at play that could potentially cause this outcome with the kid, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's important, because I think looking at the whole picture helps. Like, right. Because we've been so conditioned to look at it one way, we don't look at all facets. Like, that's why I felt like the whole economic piece that the writer, I think it was Washington Post, mm-hmm. I really think it helps to look at that to see, like, how much influence this has on the situation, to give a different view. And I think people are so used to, we've been conditioned in society to just put all the blame on the black father, that we don't look at anything else.
Yeah, we truly, and I mean, yeah, we truly have, and I felt compelled the need to just be like, yo, I'm sorry for that. As somebody, as somebody that will be a black father, gave them that amount of love, and kind of approached many cases of male quote unquote daddy issues. Would they still be suffering from that? I have a friend that your daddy wasn't there, was raised by, since he was a kid, was raised by his stepdad. You know, maybe your daddy wasn't there and knows his stepdad as like his dad, but some issues, you know, his biological father, other things that happen very little about as a result of, and, your mom not, honestly, not having two incomes in a day and time and in a society that changes. You need like two incomes. I don't know that to make it. If your mom works full-time job and she's getting paid minimum wage coming to his life, like she doesn't have enough money to took a while, but it's like he's still a 2-bedroom apartment. I don't know that he suffers with any that's the case, rejection. What things happen not because your daddy wasn't physically there, but that you experienced because. And I feel like that's something that income wasn't there, or maybe it was just that you don't really give context to. Maybe your mom is more of a passive person. In thinking about it, it's like, well, what are these things? Your dad would have been like a more aggressive person, but it's like, yeah, you experience this. You don't have that I don't want to say, I guess, backbone, if you will. You don't have that as a result of your dad, but then what other things happen as a result of not having that kind of shaped you into this person, right? So it wasn't just that, you became this like extremely passive person. It was just that maybe you were extremely passive person and then you kind of got bullied, or you were put into this space and that kind of shaped you. It's just like there are other things that happen as opposed to that. So I will just apologize for myself doing it, because even as a black man, as a black man that looks forward to being a black father, I too have just kind of painted this like broad, oh, well, it's because they have daddy issues. It's because their daddy wasn't there, it's because their daddy wasn't there. And it's like, well, there's other things that caused that shaped them, not just the fact that they didn't have a dad. Like, that's not the only thing.
Yeah, I definitely want to apologize too. And I think something that I think that's really important for us to point out too is that so many of the issues in our community are systemic, that two people in the household wouldn't
fix it.
You know what I'm saying? You can't make the cocaine versus crack, or how people get prosecuted for having weed on them, like, and they're targeted with the stop and frisk. Like, you having a father in the home is not going to undo those things.
Absolutely.
So
honestly, you getting gunned down without being armed, that's having two parents in the home is not going to stop that, and it is not something that is we need to fix because, oh, well, we got to teach our kids to be more responsible. And I've always rejected that. I mean, we had an episode where we kind of got really heated about that same type of issue, in terms of me feeling as if people always want to say, well, if we did this, the issues that our children face come from like the attitudes that they have, or them needing to do this. And it's kind of like, well, even if we did that, history has shown us that we still consistently see these problems, right? So it's like this idea. They just it solidifies that. Exactly. Here's somebody that's a father. Here's somebody that is revered, and he works at a school. He's revered as somebody that is really positive, a positive role model that does what he needs to do. We have a video of him being shot without there being any sort of weapon in his hand, and while he's trying to tell the officer did he say, I have a gun on me? Yeah, he told him. And he told him that he had a gun on him. The officer apparently asked him for it to pull out his permit, so he went to reach for the permit and he shot him. Yeah. He's obeying the command. Right. So it's like this idea that if we just have this perfect ideal setup, quote unquote, what we've been taught is the perfect ideal setup, that everything will get better. Well, that's not true. And we know that. And at this point, we have to really, now that we know better, we have to start doing better. We have to start providing more context to ourselves and providing more context to the people that come from these spaces, but really do more at supporting black fathers, right? Uplifting black fathers when we see them, even if they are not perfect or doing things wrong, doing things the right way. It's interesting. There was this, I saw a post online of a dad that he was like taking some classes on hair and how to take care of like natural hair, and people were saying like, oh, he shouldn't be doing that, and I know one thing. There was like this one guy that commented. It was just like, I'm not finna be going to no cosmetology school so my daughter hair can get done. I'm gonna brush it up in a bun, and it's just gonna be is what it is. That's too much. And it's kind of like, honestly, it's not too much. This is something that we should be honoring this guy, because it's not something that he's necessarily interested in beyond the fact that he wants his daughter to have options. He's a single father, presumably. Of course, it was just like a photo and a meme, but it's like, he's a single father. He wants his daughter to have a life where she not only can, he's as interested in her education as he is in her appearance, because he wants her to, care about that. And he also says, wait, she has natural hair. I don't know how to care for it. Maybe I don't have the means to pay somebody to do it all the time. So I can learn this to teach it to my daughter. And that doesn't emasculate me. That doesn't make me horrible. That actually makes me a stand-up guy, because I'm going beyond the extra mile for my child. And that's what fatherhood is. Like, that's it. That is it. What's the problem?
Yeah, and I think that's the cultural, people think of, well, only women can do that. And so in their minds, in their like limited perspective of roles, gender roles, they say, oh, you can't do that.
Yeah. And of course it's extremely stupid. And I think that at this point, our goal, our MO should be, how do we support Black fathers? What resources are out there? What tools are out there? What can we do to see a Black dad and say, hey, kudos to you, right? Because for so long, we have been telling you, and we've told ourselves, that you were absent. So any sign, honestly, just based on the culture, any sign of you doing something wrong, we probably throw you into this bucket of the absent Black father, or the no good Black father, or the father that just doesn't care, as opposed to saying, wait, you're a person, right? You're a regular person, just like everybody else, and you made a mistake. You didn't show up. You had a pitfall, but you're doing great, right? The fact that you're open enough to recognize that you're doing a good job. Keep going. Keep pushing. There are other Black fathers that are out here that are trying to do it. You guys, like, support each other, link up together, really make it happen, as opposed to just being, oh, well, this is bad. So I feel like at this point, our goal should be to change the narrative. And that's what I want us to do here. So make sure that we are supporting Black fathers. Maybe we can, I don't know how realistic it is, but maybe we can try to like go out and find like a Black father on like social media or something, and just try to like shout them out.
Mm-hmm. Did you see the one that just did his daughter? She had got upset because somebody was bothering her at school, and he gave her a hug.
Yeah,
and it went
viral. I saw that.
There's some resources that we looked up for those who might be fathers that are listening or want to be fathers.
No fathers.
Yeah, or no fathers. Fatherhood.gov, fathers.com, fatherhood.org are three major ones. Princeton and Columbia has some good resources with fragilefamilies.princeton.edu. Columbia has the crfcfw.columbia.edu. Childtrends.org, class.org, and we'll put this out for you guys to look at with some resources that I think are really good, some websites, the top 40 fatherhood resources that we have for you guys.
Absolutely. Well, you guys definitely hit us up and let us know what you think. Use the hashtag ChatBC and let us know. You know what? Don't let us know what you think. Shout out a Black father. Do that. Like, find somebody that you know that's Black, that's a father, somebody that is playing a role, filling in for a dad. Shout them out. Use the hashtag ChatBC and add us at brunch_culture on Instagram and brunch culture on Twitter, and we'll actually, repost those things so that we can get it out here. I feel like this Father's Day, this weekend, this week, this month, this year should be about supporting dads that are doing great things. Definitely supporting Black dads that are doing great things, because we for so long have kind of gotten this bad rap, and there's so many of us out here really doing some amazing things, not only for our direct children and our family, but for other people as well, for our communities. And so we want to do that. So hit us up, and we will be back with our Toast or Roast.
Now we're back with our toast or roast. And today I want to start off with a toast in light of Father's Day. I want to toast to my father, Louis Fields, for being always such a consistent presence in my life and a supporter. So I'm really thankful for my dad, and he being an example of a godly man, father, and loving husband. So, and he's my pastor, so I can't really escape him. And the person that comes if something's wrong with my car, because I have no idea what I'm doing. I just know how to put oil put gas in it, or change tire, anything of that sort. I'm calling him first because I have no idea what's going on. It's so sad. And it's what's even worse is I kind of don't even want to learn.
I was just going to say, that's probably the thing. But you got your daddy, so you don't need it, right?
I should probably learn, so I won't have to ask my dad or my brothers. That's like, one of those things where we could go back about women empowerment and how we like to be selectively empowered.
Mm-hmm. I want to be equal until I got to do the equal work. Then heck, nah. In some cases, my best friend says that all the time. I'm for gender roles in some cases.
See, I'm with her. Selective roles. You gotta flow with it. So shout out to my dad. Happy Father's Day, Daddy. Love you. Thank God for you.
All right, and so this week I have a toast as well. I want to toast to high school senior Marvin Wright. So I read this story. I actually stumbled across this story. I think I was just on Google, and I think I was looking at like high school stuff or whatever, because so many people graduating, and I saw this, and I read this story. So essentially, in a nutshell, Marvin Wright is the president of his high school. He's from North Carolina, Pine Tops, North Carolina. He attends Southwest Edgecombe High, and he worked on a speech. He's the class president, so he's at the graduation. He's allowed to give a speech. The morning of, he's handed a 5-sentence speech by the administrators, and they told him, you won't be reading your speech, you should read this speech. Well, Marvin pushed back. He got up there and made them think that he was going to read their speech. He pulled out a cell phone and actually read the speech that he had been working on. The crowd cheered. Everybody was happy. And when it came time to distribute the diplomas, he actually didn't receive his. The administration held his diploma for 2 days, and he didn't receive it at his graduation because he read the wrong speech. Now, of course, this is ridiculous. The principal should be fired. Everybody at that school should be fired, because that is petty. That's childish. This is something that this kid is never going to be able to get back. You work so hard to graduate. Not only do you work hard to graduate, but you also do additional service as the senior class president, which requires you to do, some administrative stuff, to be involved stuff, to kind of be a figurehead and to plan things, and all of this stuff you did. And somebody takes your diploma because you didn't do what they wanted you to do, but what you did was not wrong, because just like all of the seniors before you should be able to give a speech. That's a part of the perks of the job. So shout out to Marvin Wright. I'm going to toast to Marvin Wright for standing up for what he believes in, for not allowing somebody to silence his voice, and for giving the speech that he worked so hard on and doing it. And he got his high school diploma, and it's sad. It sucks that moment was ruined by that, but he got his high school diploma. He's doing it, and hopefully he continues to use his voice and that resistance in other ways to make change for the future. So toast to Marvin Wright. The story is on HuffPost. I don't see if there's anything, I'm always trying to see if there's something that you can support somebody. I didn't see anything of ways to support him, but just so, to put it out there and make his name known. He's a dope little kid, and toast to him.
Awesome. Shout out to you, Marvin Wright. Well, we're going to leave you with today's good vibe. Today's good vibe is:
the best things in life are on the other side of fear. And that's by Will Smith.
Yes.
You guys slid in there. I feel like you might have been having some problems getting to us.
I was like, man, I thought I had it on my phone.
Yeah.
And then I was like, the good part is, and then I looked through my phone and realized it was on the home screen, and I was like, Oh shoot! Glad you caught it, because I was like, within like internal conflict mode. Like, what did I say now?
So yeah, the best things in life are on the other side of fear. That comes from Will Smith, and it's an amazing quote, because I think it challenges us and pushes us to just face our fears, right? To know that, you know, fear is just a thing that we're supposed to get through and get past. It's not something that's supposed to stop us, and if it does stop us, it limits our reach in life. So chase your fears, overcome your fears, face them, talk about them, address them, call them out, and just move forward beyond it. And that wraps up another episode of Brunch Culture. Again, we thank you guys so much for rocking with us. We thank you guys so much for supporting us and listening to us for 3 years. Yo, it's crazy. Like, yeah, I go back to the episode. I remember the same feelings that we've had, that I had during the recording of the first episode, the equipment we used, the area that we were in, and ultimately
having to leave early because it was about to shut down.
Right. and find a new way to like edit it without editing it. So like play the whole thing and then jump right in, because we couldn't stop and we didn't have software. It has been a journey. The amazing thing that has come out of this is just, you know, an immense amount of self-confidence, the ability to really believe in our abilities to dream and to create things, and to just challenge ourselves, to really put ourselves out there. And we've given each other props in so many cases, so we won't get into that, but we thank you guys as listeners that continue to support of us since then, guys that are new and people that will come in the future. Like, we really could not do Brunch Culture, you know, consistently if we didn't have anybody listening. Like, the fact that, you know, we have thousands of times that people have listened to the show is incredible. Because of course, if there was just one listen all the time, it'll be like, all right, well, you know, we doing this, but I don't know if nobody cares. So, it's just dope that we have it. We thank you guys so much. Make sure you guys check out our website again at www.brunchculturebc.com. We are on Instagram at brunch_culture and on Twitter at Brunch Culture. We're also on Facebook, facebook.com/Brunch Culture. And as always, remember, here at Brunch Culture, everything is up for discussion.